Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls and squirrels from another world. So good to see all of you. I hope everybody can hear me all right. I'm having some really weird computer glitches, so we're just going to double check and make sure it's all set up. That's why I was running just a little bit late. Weird things happening with the computer, the audio, the visual, everything was out of whack. Don't know what was going on, but I'm glad to see that all of you are here tonight. So, craziness. Boomer glitches. Yeah, I would say that. I would say it was definitely some boomer glitches. No, I mean my camera was just jacked all to hell. Like I think whenever whatever it's I'm not even going to go into it. Weird stuff happening tonight. My sound, yes, actually I am. I'm actually dual streaming, so it's over on Rumble and about halfway through this tonight. Hey, Goof Frog, how's it going? So halfway through this, because it's going to get pretty dark. I will probably be pulling it over to Rumble for those darker things that might cause a little bit of an issue on YouTube. And um, you're welcome to join over there. Just know that this is a pretty dark cult. They're known as the Anthill Kids. And the reason they were known for the Anthill Kids is it was sort of self-named. Recording, no, did not, no, not me. No, the Anthill Kids were known just because of the amount of work that they were doing, like ants. Um, One of the more disturbing parts about this particular person was that he would get his group to do all the work while he sat back and basically told them what to do, where to go, how to be. Um, your cults tend to be a little more of a disturbing thing than people realize, where the leader generally is not going to do a whole lot of work, and the work that he does will be ordained to him by God, or they may think of themselves as God or Christ-like or a prophet. Um, so this tends to be a little bit more disturbing. Just saying. So I was doing just a little bit more research on some of these weird cults that are out there, and I'd never heard of the Anthill Kids because that would have been a little bit before my time that they were formed, and they split up about the time that I would have been, still in my teens. Um, this particular person, his name was Ross Terrell. Um, he was he was a pretty disturbing guy. Pretty disturbing guy. I mean, and his he was born in 1947, which been just a couple of years after my mother was born. If that gives you any idea that he was not a young guy. Hey there, how you doing, Susan? How you doing, Suzanne? What's up?
I was going to tell you about my conversation.
Sorry about that, everybody. So he was born in 47, and he was the leader of a group that was based near Burnt Creek, Ontario. So this would have been in Canada, and this was between 1977 and 1989. He held sway over as many as 12 adults and 26 children. He used all of the 9 women as concubines and probably fathered most of those children in that group. So if that gives you any idea how weird and creepy this guy was, just imagine. There was only 2 guys. I don't think so. I don't think so. But he did have concubines. They may have been a little bit young. But we'll get into that. We'll get into some of his creepiness, because it is really creepy. I will tell you. If you ever want to see what it's like to what one man can do as a cult, never heard of this guy. Oh, there's probably a reason for that. Some of these guys like to flow under the radar kind of thing. But what I'll do is I'll show this here. It's creepy. Creepy. So this particular guy, and the picture is on the thumbnail. I'll actually be changing my thumbnail. I've got a couple of pictures I'll be uploading there. But here is a little bit from Kevin MacLeod.
La police est à la recherche de Roch Thériault.
This is him at his hearing. This would have been in 1989.
Roch Thériault's are.
So he was, and I got this video images from a gentleman. Let's see, what was the name of his channel, because I want people to go check him out if they so desire. And this would have been Stupid Beyond Belief. So go check him out if you like what he's doing. I'm not going to steal everything from him because I'm going to talk about it. Psychotic men tend to have long beards. Chucky Mason and the Anthill Guy. Well, this guy didn't keep his beard long. He did not keep his beard long at all. And getting into this. So, Roch Moses Thériault, he was arrested in 1989, and he was convicted of murder in 1993. So Thériault is considered one of Canada's most notorious criminals. During his reign, Thériault mutilated several members. He once used a meat cleaver to chop off the hand and part of the arm of Gabrielle Lavallee, which was one of his concubines. He also removed 8 of her teeth. Thériault was accused of castrating a 2-year-old boy as well as one adult man. His major crime was to kill Solange Bolliard, which was his legal wife, by disembowelment while trying to perform surgery on her. Just keep that in mind, because this comes into play a little bit later on. So this particular group was based primarily on religious themes such as women's obedience to men, polygamy, harsh punishments, and the righteousness of the leader and the sinfulness of the followers, and, of course, living miracles. Terrio was called father or papi and rechristened all members with biblical names. He also claimed to be a reincarnation of the prophet Moses and demanded the respect appropriate for such a figure. Now, based on the testimony of the former cult members, Terrio was possibly delusional and may have actually believed he could do miracles. In particular, he once tried to resurrect a woman he had killed by sawing the top of her corpse's skull and masturbating into the cavity. Yeah. Told you this was going to be disturbing. So if you can't handle this, I suggest, yeah, the French name is pronounced Terrio. Thank you. He was charming to a young woman, was a good speaker, and he was able to persuade his followers to sell their belongings, severed ties with their families, and move to a commune near Burnt River, which was about 100 kilometers northeast of Toronto. Terrio, thank you, convinced the women that all of them were his wives and that they should bear him children even while he was in prison. 3 of his wives continued conjugal visits, and 2 of the 3 bore him more children. In 2002, there was a film called Savage Messiah, which gives a little bit of good acting, depicted his crimes against his followers and the ensuing legal recourse. So there's a particular actor named Luc Picard, not to be confused with, the guy from Star Trek, as Terrio, and Polly Walker as Paula Jackson. One of his former followers, Gabriel Lavallee, I could be saying that wrong, wrote an autobiography. She wrote a book about herself, about the sect titled The Alliance of the Sheep. And it says something else in French. I study behavior as a profession, so I'm thrilled about this story. It's dark. It's really dark. So I'll get down to some of the more interesting parts of it, about this guy's background. So he was born in the Saguenay Valley of Quebec in 1947 to Hyacinthe and Pietre Terrio, the second of 7 children and eldest boy. At the age of 6, the family of him would later say that he played with wild bears, moved the family to the community of Thetford Mines in eastern townships. The town's local school went up to the 7th grade, and none of Terrio's kids went any further, not even young Rosh, who was particularly bright, outgoing, and seemed to enjoy learning. Although Rosh would later describe his parents, particularly his father, as abusive, the mother denies ever having beaten the boy, and even his youth, Rock himself, almost never complained about his home situation. Goatman is here. Never heard of this guy. I know it sucks. I had to use that because I didn't have time to get a nice little clip there, but I'll make it happen. So what I'm going to do is, because there was someone that I thought might be interested in this, knowing that he's pretty damn cool. Yeah, this is a disturbing one. So, like I said, if you guys don't have a strong stomach for this, it's gonna get worse and darker. Just so you know, it will get worse. Okay. I'll just bring this back a little bit here so you can sort of get an idea of what this guy was all about. There we go. So the mother, as a laborer, was devoutly religious, and she was a member of the Union of Electors, also known as the White Berets, on account of their signature mission uniform. So it was a Catholic fascist offshoot of the Depression era movement between Mass and his father's forced door-to-door white beret literature distribution campaigns. Roche developed an abiding hatred for Catholicism and in particular organized religion in general, which I understand because, you know, there's people that I sort of feel the same way about. I don't abide by organized religion, but I don't think I could really start a cult. I joke about it, but it's pretty disturbing to cause. That's all right, brother. It's all right. Hey, how you doing, Melissa Jane? Ooh, a neck beard. I don't have a neck beard, damn it. So, Roche was given little complaint about as a child, passing a relatively uneventful adolescence in the Thetford mines. But as he grew older, he discovered that complaining about his childhood was a great way to get sympathy. Between this is an interest in a number of topics that gave the illusion of a penetrating intelligence, for which he was often praised, even by psychiatric evaluators, which gets a little deeper here. He was often, he came to crave attention. This desire was readily satisfied by his physical presence and by his penchant for showmanship. He also found that spirituality was very attractive. So on November 11th, 1967, he married Francine Grenier, a girl from the next town over. They moved to Montreal, and over the next 3 years, she gave him 2 sons, Roche Sylvain, which was also known as Roche Jr., and Francois. During this time, he developed some severe ulcers, which had to be excised surgically, and later developed complications from that particular surgery. That discomfort of his digestive system fostered a certain irritability on his part. He also became obsessed with medicine and taught himself a great deal about anatomy. He also moved his family back to Thetford Mines and began developing his skills with woodworking. He became involved in municipal politics and joined a club that was basically like the Shriners, which he used the board for his use as a personal platform for a parody of Catholicism. Despite the Catholic roots of all of the other members, he also acquired a new interest in sex and sexuality, one which was not entirely appreciated by his wife or his in-laws. And then, to top it all off, he started drinking. Cheers. Heavily. Like real heavily. So he was using his amateur wood sculpting sales as an excuse to go out of the Thetford Mines area. And he would carry on some affairs with women that he met there. Gazelle was one of such a woman. Eventually, Thoreau's finances, they gave way, and the local credit union repossessed his residence. Francine washed her hands of him, which is his wife, and Roche took up with Gazelle, although he was having sex with her on a regular basis to keep up appearances. He made a bed in the back of his truck so that it would appear that his scruples forbade him from sleeping with a woman to whom he was not married. It was also around this time that he discovered Most crimes are sexually motivated. Yeah. Yeah. He discovered a thing called the Seventh Day Adventist Church. So the Adventist, administered by a Guadalupean named Pierre Zeta, they met at a local hotel room every Saturday. Roche was one of their most devoted followers. He began following the Adventist nutritional strictures, which included quit drinking. And in fact, his enthusiasm for God's work began to unsettle the other Adventists, and his boastfulness irritated those who knew of his limited education. Roche became fascinated with the Old Testament, with its strict codes of masculine authority. Does it sound familiar? He was also fascinated with the apocalypse. That's just weird because that would be more of the New Testament, with its message of violent retribution for sin in the end of times and the divisiveness of the human race into the elect and the reprobate. So to make money, he began selling Adventist religion literature door to door. When he proved himself quite capable of the enterprise, he began giving him workshops on quitting smoking for Theriot to run. The traditional gateway for Adventist evangelism. He soon proved to excel at this, and by 1977, he had amassed himself a number of followers. So Solange Bolliard, Contriel Labre, Francine Laflamme, Nicole Roux, Maurice, Josie Peltier, Jacques Fissette, Claude Ouliette, and Jacques Guiguier, his wife, Marseille Guiguier, and their 6-month-old baby girl. So each one of these were over the age of 18 and above. All of these people plus Roche began hanging around at Gazelle's apartment. Although most of the girls were still living with their parents, the whole group would often spend the weekend crashing at Gazelle's on the couch, on the floor, or wherever there was space. Theriot encouraged them all to drop out of college. After all, Christ was coming soon, so there wasn't much point to learning skills to get by in a world that was already doomed. Sometimes Gazelle would become jealous of the attention the girls lavished on Roche, but as he had expressed interest in becoming a priest and had committed to total sobriety, she came to regard this as absurd, and even she realized it wouldn't take much for Theriot to seduce any of them. And Roche's Adventist ministers began to fear that this group of disaffected youth were more attracted to Theriot personally than they were to the church. Go figure that. Hey, fast group. Tony, good to see you, brother. Good to see you. So that's actually pretty smart on his end. Entrepreneurship isn't easy. Yes, that's very true. So in 1977, he and his little group of followers attended the Adventist retreat on Lake Rousseau in the woods of Muskoka. And I may be like totally butchering the names. I'm not Canadian and I'm not French, so I'm probably butchering it. Just so you know, don't tear me up too bad. Here he met Gabrielle Leveille and she was from Quebec, and Yolande Gutenberg from France, who joined his retinue. The natural scenery of Lake Rousseau apparently made a huge impression on Roche. In fact, at one point during the retreat, he went hiking by himself and climbed up on a rocky outcropping. He said he had a vision in which the sky was lit up with a white radiance, and the voice of God told him that the outcropping on which Roche was about to kneel was a holy place. Good stuff. So this was the first incidence of when he would become the ruling element of the lives of those peoples who had taken to start following this madman. So with 8 of these living followers, he had a growing reputation as a healer and sympathetic connections with the Seventh-day Adventist health food and mission literature suppliers. Theriot decided it was time to move his motley band from the Thetford mines. He established them in Sainte Marie in the Beyonce region, about 65 kilometers south of Quebec City. Here they opened the Healthy Living Clinic. So this is pretty good. Healthy Living Clinic, an alternative medicine venue where you could get organic foods, holistic literature to help you cure any ailment, cash up front, of course. So he insisted that they all wear a uniform. This uniform is very specific to his little group. It's an ankle length pullover tunic, green for the women, beige for the men, and where he would wear a dark brown of the similar cut to basically mark that he was the leader of the group. So not only was he making money in this, he was also attracting followers. Several of the clinic's patrons volunteered time or donations, including Leo Mark Foscher, who sold his worldly possessions, so everything that he owned, to fund the clinic and move in with his wife and child. So Jacques Gouillet and Marcy Grenier did likewise, and Marcy and Josie Peltier rejoined the group. So they had all these women except for Marcy Grenier, who hated being with the commune competing for Roche's attention. Eventually, Gazelle became very concerned that she might lose Roche to one of the other girls and took the initiative to propose to him herself. A week later, he agreed. They were married on January 8th, 1978, at an Adventist church in Montreal. There was no honeymoon. The group piled in the back of the van for a 5-hour trip home. Theriot joking with all the other girls on the way home. Gazelle cried on the mattress in the back, increasingly convinced that had all been a way to cement his relationship with the Adventists with a display of sincerity. Sault Ste. Marie is filled with psychos. I imagine so. Well, you'll catch up. You will catch up. Don't worry about it. Yeah, it's definitely, and there's an actual movie about this that's really, really super creepy. And the Luc Picard actually does a really, really good job showing the kind of enthusiasm that a leader like this, of a group like this, would have to basically being very outgoing, able to communicate very well with people around him and be very convincing. And sometimes it doesn't take much to convince people, as you'll see. So the Adventists basically booted him out because they were not too happy about him. And in '78, he was basically about to move on. So in '78, Geraldine Guaguerre Auclair was admitted to the Healthy Living Clinic. She had been undergoing treatment for leukemia in Quebec City. This becomes important a little bit later. And things seemed to be going well, but Auclair's husband fell in with Theriot. Roche convinced the Auclair to visit him, let him visit Geraldine in the hospital, where Roche got a loud argument with the doctors over the matter of Geraldine's treatment, particularly the amount of drugs they were giving her. Roche convinced Auclair to check the 38-year-old cancer patient Geraldine out of the hospital and into the Healthy Living Clinic, where even her own father was not permitted to visit. Roche Theriot's treatment for leukemia was grape juice and organic foods. Geraldine died at the clinic. Theriot told his father that he had gone into her room and kissed her, and she awakened from death. But that, in the end, when God wants people, he takes them, and it was Geraldine's time. During the same period of this clinic's existence, the parents of a 19-year-old multiple sclerosis victim named Gabrielle Nadeau, and this becomes she's important later on. Oh, Danielle. She was placed under the care of Theriot, who they had met at an anti-smoking workshop. Now, his clean living becomes very important. His supposed clean living. It's one of those where he decided to quit smoking, quit drinking, quit doing unhealthy things, and he was preaching this to other people that it was the way to go. Someone like this is no different than some of these people we see now that talk about all of the wonderful fitness things that they can do, and all you have to do is follow their regimen for clean living, clean health, and all the ills will go away. We see this time and time again, and they almost get a cult-like following. In this time of mass media, you will see more and more of these kind of creatures arrive, and they are just willing to take your money and walk the walk, talk the talk, do all the things that they say are wonderful. So don't follow somebody unless you can confirm that what they're saying is true. This is the danger of cults. People get suckered in. One little part of it, it's a little bit of truth with a lot of lie, but it's just enough truth to get you suckered in there. It's a game of 3-card Monty. Clean living doesn't guarantee anything. Well, it's more than just that. It's the way that you'll see people say, don't eat these certain foods, or these certain foods you're going to cause more problems. Acupuncture, all these little treatments that can alleviate some of the things, but they're not the be all end all. Is that Jim Jones Kool-Aid thing? No, it's worse than that. Jim Jones ain't got nothing on this guy. They ran at the same time. Their period of time was running about the same area. You have to understand, in the 70s, well, you probably understand this. In the 70s, there was quite a bit of somewhat of that hippie kind of attitude of, the government's trying to ruin you. It's trying to take control over you. These religions are doing nothing but spreading lies. You've got poisons being injected into the air, into your food, into everything. Eat what I say, do what I say, and you will be perfect and healthy. We hear it a lot. Some people take it to an extreme. So in 78, he was voted out of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Imagine that, being voted out of a church. Dang, it is like it is now. Yeah, a little bit. This guy's more authentic than Jim Jones, possibly sicker, but who's to say? Oh, you'll see. You will see. So they that particular clinic faced some serious problems. First, there were outstanding debts, the constant police surveillance to which they had been subjected, but since Eau Claire's death, the cutting off of health food and missionary literature supplies from their former friends, the Adventists. They basically moved. So they loaded up, set out, wandered from town to town. They went to St. Laurent for a month. In July, they found themselves in the wilderness of Gaspé Peninsula. It was there that Theriot disclosed to the group his vision of the future. Theriot told the group that the world would end on February 17th, 1979. That's sort of come and gone, hasn't it? Amid a storm of boulder-sized hail, earthquakes, and lightning, they commune. The commune. Oh, I want to say communion would become God's chosen, but only if they made a righteous life for themselves in the scrub of the Appalachian foothills. Terrio, of course, would be their guide. The group set out on foot into the hills from the village of I can't say the word, St. Joe's. On July 9th, 1978, they hiked for 2 days until they found an isolated hill beside a small body of water called Lac Sec, or known as Dry Lake. Terrio named the diminutive mound Eternal Mountain, and it was there that the group made their home. They erected a tent town, spent a week retrieving tools from the cars, and then began construction on a large cabin. They worked at least 17 hours a day, clearing the land and occasionally getting supplies from the village. Jacques Facette and Claude hacked at the ground with a shovel and pickaxe where the center of the cabin would be, working all summer to dig a well. When they finally reached the water table, Roche declared it a miracle. They worked in their tunics, and when tripping over these became inconvenient and dangerous, Roche commissioned new uniforms. Dark blue wraparound short shrifts. Terrio rationed the food, and if anyone complained about anything like hunger, he would punish them by restricting their rations. Hey, White Rabbit, good to see you. Good to see you. Wonderful. Wonderful. Of course, Terrio's stomach pains and cancer prevented him from participating in the labor. Imagine that. His role was much more important for their spiritual salvation, impressing upon his followers that everyone in the outside world, most especially their families, were active oppressors of the righteous who were doomed to lie dead for all eternity for the unforgivable harm that they had inflicted upon these poor, innocent souls. So for some time, this was too much. Yolande Gutenberg, which had joined the group, she was one from the earlier group, and her friend Gabriel Levelet at the resort of Lake Rousseau headed back to France, claiming that her passport had expired. Leo Mark Faucher, I'm not joking, his name is spelled Faucher, so I would say it's Faucher, had joined the Healthy Living Clinic with his wife and child, and who had given Theriot all of their money. He loaded his meager possessions and his family into a wagon and headed back for civilization. Roche did nothing to stop them, but made it clear that Faucher was evil, of course, in the eye of God. Yeah, not from his parents. This was somebody that was working their way up. Sociopaths can do that. They don't always have to learn it from somebody. Because he had a pretty normal childhood. He wasn't abused, but had something to do with religion. Quite a bit. Just rewind. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's pretty strange. So they finished building this cabin, which consisted of a single room with a floor made of pounded wooden rounds and a well in the center, a ceiling made of mossy, twiggy, bark-covered logs, and rooms consisting only of meter-high partitions and bed sheet hung as curtains. It was their home until God began his 1,000-year reign on earth. It was also a place of merriment where Theriot would organize skits and songs to commemorate their new life. Theriot gave them all new names from the Old Testament. He called himself Moses, leader of the Exodus from the depraved modern world. He was their pappy. His wife Gazelle was their mammy, and with all the collective welfare checks from everyone in the group, they had a monthly budget of $1,400 Canadian. In October The 6-month-old pregnant Mammy Gazelle went to Mosé. She said the women who had not been married were lonely. Terrio relayed this insight to the other girls, thus giving them the impression that Mammy had been the first to think of it. A few nights later, Nicole Roule, whom Roche had married to the uninterested Jacques Facette, confided that she and Mosé had had intercourse while everyone else was working. This, of course, hurt Gazelle immeasurably, and she fled from the cabin. But Terrio pulled her down and squeezed his hands around her throat. And being scared of her life, she agreed and returned to the compound. Fauché? Fauché, okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Sociopaths create their own origin. Oh, I'll check that out. Let me pull that up, and we will look at that. I'm sorry, I was streaming over there and didn't even have it pulled up. That's how horrible I am. Give me just a second, and I'll read this Rumble rant out just for Danielle. Give me just a second. Pause. There we go. Oh, this is Danielle's piece right here. A quote from him says, "Break your leg with a sledgehammer and go to hell." Or go to hell. That would be a cool punk lyric. Oh, we get into that a little bit later. Yes, it would be. Break your own leg with a sledgehammer. Go to hell. Yeah. Sociopaths tend to love torturing whomever possible. They also tend to want fealty for those around them. Of course, you should know this. Not that you are. Just that you. Never mind. Now I sound like an asshole. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. So let me pull this up here. I want to have this popped out so I can make sure that I see my chat whenever they come over. Danny, that is such a wonderful picture of you. Danielle, yes, that is a wonderful picture of you. So great. So Moses declared all commune marriages other than the one between himself and Gazelle void. He then began marrying the women to himself, including Gabrielle Nadeau, the 20-year-old multiple sclerosis invalid. Though apparently didn't try to have intercourse with her, he did have sex with his other wives. The rebellious Solange was the last to fall to his wiles. The one exception was Marcy Grenier, the outsider. Marcy Grenier. Okay. Then, of course, the Jonestown Massacre happened, which was November 18th, 78. And Terrio followed the story with interest, even claimed to have a vision of the event a year before. But they now had a very pressing problem because doomsday cults were now a household concern, which I'll be going over some of those later on. I will have some more. I'm going to start doing this every Monday. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe, because every Monday I'm going to be going over some of these really strange cults. This is one of probably the longest ones that I will do, because this guy was creepy. I mean, whenever I say creepy, I mean he had some serious issues. Serious issues. So this is his first wife right there. And yeah, pretty insane. So, that's his parents right there. Weird, huh? He also liked his goats. Just saying. Liked his goats. Just kidding. I'm giving you a hard time, Val. Yes, next Monday it will have a new and improved thumbnail. And I would give away where that source is, but I only if they give me permission. Let's see, Danielle's digging the beard. Not mine. Not mine. She's digging his. I mean, he's got the beard going on. Me, I'm just gray. I'm just gray. So, because these doomsday cults were a household concern, the families of Terrio's followers renewed their attempts to disrupt the group. The police wanted to take him into custody, but lacked evidence that he was a danger to himself or to others. Nevertheless, Terrio went willingly with them and underwent psychological evaluation. He claimed that he wasn't the leader of the group and that the commune was a democracy. And that they had lived in peace and without any promiscuity. He conveniently left out the parts about the food rationing, abuse, or his polygamous harem. The authorities realized he was a delusional crank, but without any proof he was a dangerous delusional crank. They released him under his own recognizance. Have we not heard this before? I never said that. God. Oh, well, I will show you. I will show you. You come on here. I will show you which one I plan on using. If that gives you any clue. So, Terrio abandoned the Adventist diet. He began eating meat and junk food. Okay. He prostituted Gabriel to a local grocer for some milk, meat, and cheese, and also started drinking again after 2 years sober. First a little communion wine, then some beer, then cognac. He began to deliver long, rambling, drunken sermons. Well, it sounds like someone I know. If anyone fell asleep, he'd smack their head with a 4-inch thick club. Yeah. Maurice Grenier, pregnant, ate 2 more pancakes than Terrio had allocated to her. He punched her in the side and broke 2 of her ribs. And it was a favorite punishment would be to force someone to strip naked and stand in the snow for a few hours. No one would fight back. It would be like raising a hand against God himself. Jacques Facette left. Terrio told the others that he'd been taken by the devil. As for the others, all of this served only to make them more obedient. They would write letters like this. Just imagine. I got that pic. Like, oh, hell yeah. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. I will have some good thumbnail pics. So this is the letter that Holga wrote to him. Hello, Pappy. I'm writing about what you said on the subject of nutrition. It is very true that I nibble, a damnable fault which I will never again repeat. The thought of ingesting such a large quantity of food in so little time discourages me. Even if I work outside the entire day without eating, I ask that you forgive me. If it is stealing, I did not realize it. It is this fault which causes my plumpness. I do not want to be fat and plump servant. That is too ugly next to the man that you are. I don't know what to think about everything and the meaning of my actions. I only know that I will not repeat them, and I do not speak lightly. I wish to be a true servant to you, my master, alert, vigorous, with clear and lively spirit, and well balanced to serve you every moment of my life. I have a long way to go. Thank you, Pappy. I love you. Holga, Francine Leflemme. Maurice Grenier began talking about leaving. Theriot instructed Jacques, Marie's husband, in the eyes of the law, though not the eyes of Moses, to cut off one of her toes with an axe as punishment. When Giguere balked, Theriot began to taunt him. What are you? A faggot. Don't you have any balls? If you want to be a man, you have to learn how to teach your woman a lesson. When Giguere began to cry, Theriot grabbed the axe and threatened to cut off all of Marcy's toes himself. Reluctantly, Giguere took the axe, took off one of her small toes, and after that, Giguere became Moses's main enforcer. What's the problem with copious amounts of alcohol? Oh, I don't know. What is the problem with that? I don't know. I see nothing wrong with copious amounts of alcohol until you like start chopping off people's toes. Might be a bad thing. Or telling other people they'll chop off toes or else you'll chop all of them off. So, but of course, with all of his predictions, February 17th came and went without the second coming. And according to Theriot, divining exact dates from the messages of God was a difficult business for mortals, as time passes differently for him than for men. To the shock and horror of the family of Theriot's followers, this was enough to keep the group together. After all, the end could come any day now. Tantel Labre's parents obtained a court order for a round of psychiatric tests for their daughter. When two police officers showed up at the compound, Theriot repelled them. 1 month later, only 4 days after Quebec City, I can't say the name, it was their local paper, published a story on the group entitled, "They Are Happy and Free to Leave If They Wish," which referred to Theriot as the group's spiritual father, and which included quotes from an interview with some of the members that fled, Jacques Facette, in which he stated that the group was democratically run. 10 police officers set a helicopter down on the Eternal Mountain. They arrested Theriot for obstruction of justice, and he was ordered by the court to undergo psychological evaluation in Quebec City. Gazelle maintained the morale and isolation of the commune during Pappy's absence. When the family of other cult members tried to visit them to try to talk some sense into everyone, they were treated coldly. It was made clear, of course, that they were unwelcome. Hello, Matthew. Good to see you. So everybody, say hello to Matthew. Say hello to Matthew. I'm gonna do a stream with Matthew. I just need to set it up. I've just got a really busy week this week, and I would love to have Matthew come on and join in for a bit of time. If you get a chance, go check out his YouTube channel. He's got a good YouTube channel, and he's got a voice almost as good as mine. No, he's really good. He's really good. I saw him on with Steve Gosney the other night, and he was very, very, very insightful. And it was too bad it was getting a little bit late because he had to run off. But he's good people, so go check him out. And like I said, I'm gonna try to get him on my channel at some time. I know that he's up for it. It's just a scheduling thing for me, so we'll check it out. No, you sound great, Matthew. You really do. You really do. I got to check a couple of your things out. It's good. It's good. You got it. You got it. But back to our crazy people, which is not Matthew. Just confirm that. Just confirmed Janet Herman, a well-known subject matter expert on Trivium and the creator of Trivium education website this Wednesday. Hope those interested will join us. Sounds very cool. Jan Irving. Nobody has a voice as good as Shizzy. Well, thank you, Tweety. I appreciate it. I appreciate that. So, although, Pappy was gone. Pappy. Terrio was integrating himself with the doctors. He claimed that he had saved these kids from dissolution of drugs and put them on the right track. The director of the hospital at which Terrio was confined began referring to the patient as Moses and expressed his scorn for the public that he had reflexively assumed that just because Terrio had a different lifestyle and had been sent for evaluation, he was crazy. He was released from the hospital early, judged fit to stand trial for obstruction of justice and given 1 year suspended sentence. God, I can't wait till Thursday where I get these damn liners taken off my teeth. I have a hard time saying my S's. Makes me feel like I'm what's his name? From Silence of the Lambs. Yeah. It's hard to talk with this damn thing in my mouth. Sorry, that's bad. In the eyes of this, in the eyes of his followers, this only proved that he was emissary of God, just as he said he was. If psychiatric experts couldn't find anything wrong with him from their position of objectivity, how could they, his most intimate family? Lisps are cute. Lisps. It's not a lisp. It really isn't. I've got Invisalign in. Straighten up some really bad crooked teeth. I get those things taken out. Well, because you have to change them out every week. I'll be done with them on Thursday. I normally don't have that kind of lisp. It's just hard to talk with a piece of plastic on your teeth. Ew, Invisalign. Yes. Oh, that's good. That's good. How is it working? Really good. Really good. See? Yeah, it's working actually pretty good. It's not that my teeth were super bad, but they were a little jacked up on the bottom, and was causing one of my teeth to get chipped really bad. It's creepy. So I ended up looking like I worked at Stickies. Not that there's anything wrong if you work at Stuckey's. No. Working at Stuckey's is an awesome thing. They have a great buffet 24/7. It's great. It's wonderful. It's almost as good as it's almost as good as working at a Waffle House. You might have a few more teeth if you work at a Stuckey's than at a Waffle House. Just saying. I know because I worked at a Waffle House. True story. True story. So Gabrielle went into a coma and died after that. Remember the MS lady? She Terrio wanted to bury her at the foot of the Eternal Mountain, but she was taken by authorities for an autopsy. They found no sounds of foul play, but Terrio swore that if anyone else died on the commune, their body would stay there. In 1980, Guy Veer joined the commune. He was the first new member of the group since the Healthy Living Clinic. So this is 77, 80. That's like 3 years later. So he had undergone treatment for depression at the hospital in Gifford. It's called Le Hostel Robert Giffard, the same hospital that declared Terrio's mentally sound. After hearing about Terrio on television, Veer decided to head into the hills, and after passing Gabriel's examination, Veer was permitted to stay at the commune in the storage shed away from Terrio and his family. He would get a small wood stove, a case of 24 bottles of their homebrewed beer, 2 hens, a rooster, and 1 meal a day. Veer's job, in addition to his normal responsibilities of chopping wood, storing food rations for the winter, and continuing construction on Moses's growing wood cabin palace. What are you drinking on, Shiz? Well, Danny, what I'm drinking on tonight is just some really inexpensive redemption rye, high rye. It's really inexpensive. It's under $30, and it's got a good flavor. It's got a good flavor. Whiskey ASMR. That was really weird to come in on. Oh, you got to rewind if you want to. Yeah, absolutely, Winnie. I would enjoy doing something with you. I really would. You're good people, and if you guys haven't seen Winning's stuff, he's got really amazing things that he does. Really amazing. He's got some awesome guests, and his insight is remarkable into a lot of the pop culture, a lot of things going on that just aren't in the mainstream. So he's ahead of the game on a lot of that. Whiskey River, don't run dry. If you can ever find it at your local place, just out ammunition rye, super good. Very cool. I don't know if they have ammunition. I pretty much know all the alcohol they have there. One of my main go-tos if I want a little bit something pricier is I'll do some Four Roses bourbon, which is their single barrel. That's like my main go-to for something just a little bit pricier. It's got a good flavor to it. My wife enjoys it also. Just saying. Not that I'm promoting them. Oh, definitely. You've got my my Twitter DM. You can always just drop me a DM. I've got I got Matthew that I'm going to try to get on possibly next week. He's good people. We're also trying to get him his subs up. He's a little short on subs, so we want to get his subs up. And if you haven't seen any of his stuff, just check out last night's with Steve Gosney. He was on there. Very, very, very entertaining. So let's see. Where were we at? So as part of his little storage shed and homebrewed beer, we had Guy Veer. Oof. His cabin, his wood cabin. Pardon me. Sorry about that. So he would babysit the group's 3 non-Ontario children, Samuel Guerrier, age 2, Miriam Guerrier, age 4, Simon Ouliette, age 2, son of Solange and Claude during their brief marriage. Thériault had 3 children of his own living at the commune, one by Gazelle, one by Solange, one by Nicole. But because Veer was mentally unstable and so it was only fit to look after the animals, or basically the ones that were not of his seed. So imagine kids being considered animals in his little group because they weren't from the loins of their leader, Roche. Horrible guy. So we're only into 1980. You got to understand that this goes well into 92. So in 1980, Thériault organized a party. His 2 sons from his marriage with Francine Grenier Roche, he was 12 at the time, of Francois, which is 10 at the time, were coming to live with their father at the commune. Veer, of course, was not invited. His job was to look after those 3 outsider children. So here's where it gets a little creepy. So there's 2 versions of what happened this particular night. So this was on March 23rd, 1980. The official version is that the one that was given in court by Theriot, Guy Veer, and most of the commune members. According to this version, Samuel was crying that night and keeping Veer awake. Veer lost his temper and started screaming at the child to be quiet. Then, picking up the 2-year-old child by the throat, he plunged his fist into the child's face 5 or 6 times. The next day, Theriot discovered that what had happened and placed Samuel under the care of Gabrielle, nurse for the group. Allegedly, baby Samuel's head was flopping around on his neck, and his wee had swollen up. So Roch took a pair of scissors, and after sterilizing them with alcohol, he lanced the wee to permit urine to flow out. And of course, the next morning, Samuel was found dead. Yeah. Samuel was found dead. And this was the account that was accepted by the courts. So, according to the movie or the book, I think it was a movie, The Savage Messiah, or Savage Messiah, you should see it. I actually watched it. It's pretty freaking disturbing. And there's boobs in it. Greetings, fine sir. Greetings. It's good to see Legal Vices. Legal Vices, everybody. Say hello. Good people everywhere. And what is that? Fix up my schedule. Excellent. Excellent. And what I'm going to do is, somebody was interested in joining my little cult of merrymen. Damn it. What happened? Oh. The dad in me wants to rage hearing that. I'm going to run to my member stream. Y'all have a good one. Everybody, say hello to winning. Say hello to winning. Illegal Vices coming soon to a YouTube browser near you. Horrible guy. You've been taking notes. Oh, shame on you. So, according to this movie by Paul Khalil and Ross Levere, Gazelle tells a different story. So, this is according to Gazelle, the one that had her hand severed and part of her arm with a meat cleaver. According to her, Samuel's face was bruised on the morning of the 24th, which was the next day, but there was nothing else wrong with him. However, Theriot decided the child needed to be circumcised. He used the 94% ethanol solution to do more than sterilize the razor, though. He also poured some into a rubber bulb, which he squeezed into Samuel's mouth for use as an anesthetic. This may have been enough to cause his death by alcohol poisoning. After hearing about her baby's death, Mary Grenier just went back to work. And that's actually shown in the movie Savage Messiah. They considered it crib death. Maurice Grenier just went back to work, and at supper, Theriot suggested that they burn the baby's remains as if they buried them. Birds or bears might get into them. Maurice and Jacques Guerre agreed. Claude Ouellette did the honors. Then life at the commune went back to normal. Normal, huh? He seems nice. You can fix him. Oh, darling, he got fixed. Trust me, he got fixed. So for 6 months, everything went smoothly for the commune. One night in September, a drunken Moses became angry with Veer for some infraction and decided that he should stand trial for his crime that happened on the previous March. He appointed Jacques Guerre, the baby's father, to be the judge, and Mamie Gazelle would be the prosecution. Claude Ouellette, the lawyer for the defense. Gabriel would act as a coroner, and Roche's other 6 wives would act as the jury. The trial lasted for 1 hour, and the verdict was unanimous. Not guilty by reason of insanity. But Theriot was not satisfied with this decision, of course, and a couple hours later he took Jacques aside and suggested that they castrate Veer. Guerre didn't like the idea, but Theriot called another vote anyway. Out of a jury of 10, including Roche Jr., only 3 voted against the new motion. Jacques Guerre, Marie Grenier, and Gazelle. Everyone else was now strongly in favor. Veer, who stayed quiet throughout the whole evening, was obviously not keen to the idea. I wonder why. But Theriot actually talked him into it. He claimed it would cure Veer's headaches as well as excessive masturbation that was causing Veer's respiratory difficulties. Shot collar and spray bottle. Just don't let them get any view of those stills until they're absolutely sure. He explained that in the hierarchy of the group, Veer was a slave, and that if he underwent the castration, he would become a eunuch, which would be a step up. He asked Veer to write a letter of consent and said that he wouldn't make Veer sign it if he didn't want to sign it. But of course, Veer signed it. Theriot had Veer lie on the kitchen table as Gabriel fetched the medical instruments, an elastic band, a razor blade, and a magnifying glass, and of course a pair of tweezers, and the ethanol. The operation itself was painless, and the testicles were discarded in a Kleenex. Although Veer's scrotum bled for a week, Gabriel gave him a new saltwater compress every 20 minutes and ensured he got plenty of iron in his diet. So a little chop, chop, snip, snip. Threw it away with a Kleenex. Bye-bye, testes. I guarantee it cured the excessive masturbation thing. Because Paul Veer never complained of another headache. Of course, on the other hand, Theriot felt that now Veer was a security risk and enjoyed tormenting him, beating him, and playing games in which he would instruct his followers to pierce Veer through the chest with knives and bleed him to death, only to call them off, like God called Abraham from sacrificing Isaac at the very last minute. But on November 5th, Veer escaped to the village of St. Joe, where he told the villagers that a baby had died after being kicked by a horse. The police raided the compound, arrested Theriot and Samuel's parents, and relocated the 7 children to foster homes. They found the child's remains, and the commune members told the story of Veer beating the child. They also found Veer's letter of consent to the castration operation, and even the ballots that had been used for the vote. No one questioned by the police was all that upset or even embarrassed of what had happened or of having involved a 20-year-old boy in the decision process. Nothing will cure that excessive. Especially if it cures a headache, of course. Of course. And see, you're even getting a shout out there, Fast Group. That's awesome. So this is, of course, after the coroner determined that the group was criminally responsible for the death of Samuel Guerre. The police made the following charges. Roche Jacques, Marie, Gabriel, Guy were all charged with criminal negligence causing bodily harm to the baby and with neglect towards their oldest daughter, which was now 5, and Claude and Solon were similarly charged with treatment of all these. So basically, they just got denied bail and they were held to be a danger to society. At the end of the 9-month trial, see, we've got someone on here that could do like covering like a 9-month long trial, especially if it was this messed up. But I don't think you're ever going to see that aired. Imagine a 9-month long trial with someone that is more insane than a Sov citizen, more insane than Daryl Brooks. Imagine someone crazier than that. Lawful law, come on. So at the end of this 9-month trial, which the commune members moved to the town of New Carlisle, where the trial was held, all parties were found guilty of all charges. Maurice and Solon got 3 years probation. Jacques and Claudette Ouellette received 6 months and 3 years probation for child abandonment. Guy Vier was sentenced but later acquitted for mental incompetence and was returned to the hospital. Gabriel Lavelle was sentenced to 9 months in jail and 3 years probation. Roche was sentenced to 2 years minus a day in prison and 3 years probation on each of the 2 charges to be served concurrently. He was transferred to the Orangeville Detention Center in Quebec City. The members of the group distributed themselves between 4 apartments in Quebec City to be near their leader. The police razed their cabin and the gas to the ground and bulldozed the ashes. Theriot began to assemble notes for a book, The Affair of Moses, published in Quebec City in November of 1983, and the whole thing seemed to be over. But of course, they were just getting started. If anybody needs a slight break, it gets worse. It gets much worse. So take a break, smoke a cigarette, grab a drink, grab a beverage, hit the like, make sure you're subscribed. And of course, you got to see what I'm going to be using for my next thumbnail. Brought to you by the one and only. Smoke a cigarette. Okay, go smoke a cigarette. You know, after the ball chopping, you need that. You need that after the ball chopping. If I can pull it up, actually, I may have to pull it up on a different screen. Yeah, let me pull it up on a different screen here. Whew. Let's see. So this right here, pull this thing up, and we're going to stop this screen and present. Where is it? There we go. So this is going to be my new thumbnail. This one is brought to you by the one and only Val. So that's going to be the new thumbnail for this. That is going to be the new thumbnail right there. What do you think? Is that like cool or what? Is that going to be a good one right there? There you go. Fast Script going to smoke your pipe. Put that in your pipe and smoke it fine, sir. Oh, yes. Yes, he will love it. He's the one that sent it to me. Yes, that is the goat. That's going to be the new thumbnail for this. Just for my Monday night streams. This is going to be the new thumbnail. Thank you, Val. I appreciate it. And if you haven't checked out Val's goats, they're awesome. There's a reason why they call him the Goat Daddy, and it's not because of any relations with them. They're goats. It's because he takes care of them like they're his children. See? See? Mm. We love Val. Val's good people. I knew you'd like that. I knew you'd like that. But I thought that would be like the perfect one to have up there. Because, I mean, what says a cult like without a goat? Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And I will say that if for some reason that goat ever starts making me money, Val will be getting some like nice fresh barbecue or something. And it won't be a barbecue goat, just saying. Be some good beef. At least I'm moderately okay. Yeah, moderately good. All right. So, is everybody ready to go over to Rumble only? Give a big thumbs up. We're into this thing for over an hour. So if everybody's ready, if they're feeling the goat love, if they're feeling it down deep in your soul, hit that one. Show the love, and we will take this thing over to Rumble exclusively. And I'm trying to give you guys time to get over there because I know that it might take a couple of minutes. Might take a couple. Whenever you get over there, you can chat away and say some of the things that only I would appreciate. Me and my sick band of weirdness. But after the turtles, after you see the turtles come raging across your screen, you're going to want to be over on Rumble. Just saying. You'll want to be there. You'll want to be hanging out. You'll be wanting to see the love. But only on Rumble. And it's going to happen right about